this down, so.
From here, can you say you have something, or you got a thing that'll show you like a sync to it so you can see how we look on camera?
Yeah, it's in my book bag. I mean, we look fine though.
If you go, okay. If you go with it, I'm good with it.
Yeah, we look good.
Works for me. Works for me, man.
All right, so once again, I'm back with my brother, my main man, Shaun James.
Oh, yes, yes.
I am Delano Owens, also known as Faith, and we had some technical difficulties yesterday. That was my fault. I take 1,000% responsibility for that, but right now we are sounding good. We're looking good.
Very true.
We're still here in Florence, Italy. How you feeling?
I feel good, man. We're about 45 minutes from getting out of here. We're waiting for pickups. We've been here 5 days now, almost 6, since Monday, so about 5 days now.
Right.
Heading back to Rome. I think we're gonna get a little more content in there, but we wanted to just take these last few minutes, and I feel like it's a bit of reflection.
Yes.
Sort of at the end of another trip together.
Right.
Every time we sort of do these, I feel like we come away from it closer as men, better understanding of one another. Just found out that this man has a musical background. I knew there was something there, but I didn't know it was as deep. Him and my girlfriend Danielle had a chance to chat. For those who maybe this is the first time you're seeing the content, I'm Shaun James. Online, I go by Nuance Lives Here, host of the For Cultural Purposes podcast. But we always sort of come away from these things learning more about each other, learning more about self. I'm always appreciative of those sort of just walks where it's just as two men just kind of walking through a new place we've never been, and sort of finding some reassurance in one another and sort of building in that way. That community and that village is important. Right. So, coming away from this, after 5 days, I've never been to Italy before. I don't know about you.
Never. This is my first time
Never
as well.
been here. So coming away from sort of this 5 days where, obviously for our ladies, it's a conference and they're here to be poured into and to learn about their business and so on. But for you, what do you come away from this with? What do you when you get back to Atlanta, what are you feeling? Are you feeling sort of refreshed, and did you get what you needed in that respect?
Yeah. Definitely feeling refreshed. I think the most refreshing moment since I've been in Italy per se was our trip to Portofino. That was just being by the water. That was amazing. And also just seeing where, if you stay down and grind, seeing where your talents can take you.
For sure.
And inspired by that, getting closer to her peers as well. Yep. Because it's crazy because they also want to learn about how to trade in the stock market as well. So like just becoming friends with people I thought I never would become friends with. Sure. And just seeing life through a new lens, and just not being so closed-minded, and just being open, and just see what happens, man. That's one thing I struggled with for a long time, just being closed off. I like certain type of people. I don't like certain type of people for whatever reason. But like, if you go into the whole thing with an open mind, man, you'll start meeting people you never thought you would meet, and that brings opportunities that you never thought you would get. So,
Thanks.
I'm feeling refreshed. What about yourself?
I feel the same way, man. A closed fist can't receive anything, right? So for me, it's major to sort of be in this space that is completely out of. I am a creative in my own right, but to be surrounded by this many creative people and sort of see the similarities across all of them, whether it's the women we love and sort of the challenges they're overcoming in the sense of like as Black women in a space that is dominated by mostly white men, white women, and trying to find their space. But what I've really appreciated, and I think it does wonders for them, is like their colleagues and their peers are sort of seeking them out and saying like, y'all are a big damn deal, and like their edification of their peers means something to their peers. Like, it's one thing when you think you're great, but it's another thing when people who do what you do not only think you're great, but compliments from you and that sort of edification from you uplifts you in a way, and it means something to them. So to sort of see them in their environment, I think is really dope. I would say for me, coming out of this, I was just grateful for a break. I've been started a new job about 4 months ago, and it's just been nonstop. And now we're going into the holidays, and it's like I was glad to be able to just sort of sit down a little bit and get off my feet and, you know, just kind of breathe. You know what I mean? I wasn't coming here sort of like seeking anything specifically other than just an opportunity to rest.
Right.
There has not been enough sleep.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. Have you had some rest?
I have not. I've had rest in the sense of like being able to take my mind off of things. So my mind has rested in relation to like just not having to think about work and like sort of getting away from the grind in that respect. Definitely could have used a few more hours of sleep each night, but that was just spent in community. Again, I'll lose some sleep for a good time.
Right. Facts. Same.
So that's been actually super beneficial. And then I'm also just sort of looking forward to getting back to Rome for a day and a half, really. It'd be nice. Like I said to you, we do a little content there. I think the skyline there would look beautiful.
Nice.
But what I will say I've come away from this with probably is a lot of perspective, because, you know, when you come from the States, there are no 2,000-year-old pieces of architecture in the U.S., right? Like, we are an infant in relation to most countries. We're a baby.
Right.
So sort of coming here and especially with what I've been doing on my podcast, especially last few episodes, and sort of seeing what that much time and that much iteration can do for a place, right? You know, I think of when you're in Rome and you're walking around, you'll find like water just randomly coming out of a wall or out of a pipe or something. And that is a testament to their care for the aquifers and their water supply that has lasted thousands of years and still is safe to just grab a bottle and drink it, put it in your hand, like,
right.
You know, and what that affords people is you can live with more dignity. Even if I sleep on the street, I can get a bar of soap and wash my ass with the water coming out of a wall.
Facts.
Right? Like, that's a different level of dignity that
Yeah.
in America, we selling it to you, right? Like, you
Yep.
can't just get water out of a wall for free. It would
Yep.
put Nestle out of business.
Right.
Right?
Facts.
So
Big
it's
facts.
those little things where you sort of see that, like, you know, it's not just, you know, we often talk about like universal healthcare and things like that, but coming to places like this, you can kind of get a perspective and an appreciation. I don't think I've really tipped anyone since I've been here, not because I don't want to, but because the workers are paid in such a way that the tip culture is not necessary. And even
Yes.
if you do tip, no one's expecting 20%.
Right. Facts.
Right? I've $100 bill, you put down $5, thank you so much. Right? Like, it's a real thing. So it's just, for me, I'm always I'm thinking about those things when I'm typically traveling. Like, I'm the guy who goes grocery shopping when I go to someplace new, just because to me, that sort of perspective it lets me know that how we do it is not the way it has to be.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
Facts.
okay, we got the most billionaires in the world. Yeah, but we got kids going to sleep hungry every day. Like, y'all over here trying to take away school lunches.
Right.
Like, we got kids in debt because of school lunch.
Right.
That's, you know, it's cool, but to have billionaires and to have all this, the whatever you want to call success. But, you know, I think a lot of times, and, you know, most Americans don't have passports, they don't get a chance to travel. And I think that handcuffs us, because not enough of us understand that it don't have to be the way it is.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
So that's sort of, when I go back, for me, it's sort of just that sort of perspective of like, it doesn't have to be this way. And it sort of reinforces a lot of the work that I've been trying to do with the podcast.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice. It's good to hear that, man. Good to hear that for sure. Yeah, I definitely noticed the tipping thing, that they don't expect anything. They don't hand you a card reader with these big boxes already preloaded with 10, 15, 20, 25%. We went out to eat one night. We gave the guy €5. He acted like he was just like bless you, thank you. We really appreciate you. And I've just noticed that about the different cultures and the food. I've been noticing the difference in the food. And I feel like we've been eating a lot. I don't feel like I've gained
a pound.
I
might have lost a few.
Exactly.
Yeah, we've eaten a ton of,
and it's just
ton
different.
of food, man.
The culture is different. I would definitely advise anyone watching this, if you do not have your passport, please go get your passport and travel somewhere that you've never been, experience some type of culture that you've never seen before, somewhere that you may have wanted to go but may not have the chance to. Get your passport for sure, man. It's more to life than just North America and the United States of America.
Big facts.
So definitely go check that out whenever you get a chance.
Yeah, and I come at it from I understand that there's we are very lucky to be able to do what we do.
Facts.
Right? It's certainly, you know, there's folks out here who can't really barely scrape by. So the idea of getting out of America or going anywhere to that extent may seem like a dream too far away or whatever the case may be. But if you are in a position to, and it's in your budget, even if it's just get up to like a Canada or something, someplace, you know, even if, you know, relatively close, even if you can't get all the way across the pond.
Right.
But just figuring out a way to just go see something that isn't what you see every day, right? Just even go to a different state. I've visited plenty of the states. I'm looking forward to just getting out to Hawaii at some point and sort of seeing those places I haven't been.
Right.
Because even then there's some perspective and there's something to be gained, and then there's conversations you probably wouldn't have had otherwise.
Right.
Right. You know, we come from very different places.
Right.
You know, but the ability to sort of find the commonalities and even in the areas where we disagree is you know, disagreeing and being disagreeable are two different things.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. Like yesterday we had a conversation where I don't know if you guys are going to see this episode or not because the mics were not on. That was my fault, but we were having a conversation about he said some stuff that I didn't necessarily agree with. I just had a different take on as far as
the morality of billionaires and all of that.
Yeah. So if we could touch on that just for a quick second.
Yeah.
I forgot exactly what you were talking about, that a price. If you have an opinion, I think you gave the Charlie Kirk example.
Yeah. So I mean,
go ahead.
I got you. So what I was sort of saying was, you know, to be clear, Charlie Kirk was murdered, and my stance on it is that anybody mocking the death of anyone, whether or not you disagreed with the person or not, I think mocking their death, and I didn't agree with any of his politics, but mocking a person's death is wrong, period. So let me start there. But what I was talking about was, you know, he had said at one time that the violence we experience is a worthy price, and I'm paraphrasing, but essentially is a price worth paying for the sake of maintaining the Second Amendment. And in my view, when he said that, he didn't imagine he would become the price we pay.
Facts.
And for me, if when you're talking about the price we pay for whatever it is that is the viewpoint you hold, or the worldview that you hold, if that price never includes you, if you don't view yourself as someone who may have to pay the price, and it doesn't have to be something like 2A, it could be your views on universal health care. If you don't care about health care until you're the guy with cancer, if none of that matters to you until if we want to live in a world where it's not my problem until it's my problem, the outcomes and the byproducts of that are what we experience. So whether it's a guy who believes the violence we experience is worth it for 2A, and then he becomes the violence we experience, to then turn around and demand that everyone have empathy seems disconnected from the viewpoint, right? Like right. You became the cost that you said it was worth it. Right. You know what I mean?
Right.
So what I was saying with you in relation to that was, I don't believe that there are any ethical billionaires. Right. I don't think you can sort of hoard that much wealth and power and it not have adverse effects and rippling effects on people, whether that's directly through, you know, underpaying your workers, which is why we have a income inequality crisis in America right now. Whatever you think of Trump winning an election, most people would tell you he won that election because people feel like their money doesn't go as far. The eggs are too damn expensive. Now, whether or not he's addressed that or will address that, you know, you can have your opinion on that. I don't believe he has.
Right.
But ultimately, what we've seen over the last few years is that there's an affordability crisis in America. And when you have built a culture where we have this tipping culture, just for example, there's states where you can pay somebody $3 or $5 an hour because, well, they're going to get tips.
Right.
That sort of culture and the byproducts of that situation, the desperation that comes from it, we can't pretend that our worldview is not creating that, right? So for me, and the example you were using was this sort of like, you know, well, what's the number? And I'm like, you know, I think once you start to cross into that 100 million range, you are probably having some kind of adverse effect on the environment around you.
Right.
And that's okay, as long as when the price comes due, when the bill comes due, you aren't, well, you know, why do I got to?
Why do I have to?
Why do I have to pay it?
Right.
Right. Like if the price is fine, as long as you don't have to pay it. If the bill never comes in your name, and that's the only way we care about things, I think the world we find ourselves in is sort of the byproduct of that, and no one should be surprised by it.
Right. Fact.
Right? Like it should just be understood that that's where you are.
Right.
So I think that was sort of the core of it. And I think for you, it was more of a, and I'll let you kind of pick up on where you were going with it. But I think you were saying something along the lines of like, listen, if I gotta, step on some folk to get my family to generational wealth, I care about the ending.
Right.
Right. So, you can.
Yeah. So that was his point of view. And my point of view was pretty much like basically what he just said. If somebody has to get hurt along the way, like he said, at the end of the day, someone has to pay the price.
Yep.
Right. So I think another example you used were all the microplastics that we have in our foods.
Yes.
Right. So even if it's not me paying the price, let's say my daughter gets cancer from whatever, or my wife, something happens to my wife.
Yep.
Somebody has to pay the price. But I was saying that the different point of view that we both had is that, if once you put, because I said 10 million, you was like, that's not enough in order for these big things to happen. But once you hit that $100 million mark, somebody has to get hurt in between that start to finish process. Yeah. And I was saying that I'm okay if some people or a certain demographic or just people in general get hurt while I'm on that way to creating generational wealth for my family. Sure. If I can hit that $100 million mark, then we never have to work again. Because essentially, why are we all here in Florence, Italy in the first place? Right? Yeah. We're here to network with other people. There are casting directors here. For sure. Who our women are trying to build relationships with so that they can get more jobs, they can get more money. And I'm just like, we live to work and we live for the dollar. And if we can bypass that, if some people have to get hurt on the way for me to not have to work and live for that dollar moment anymore, then some people are just going to have to get hurt. And that's just my personal take on it. If we never have to work again, I think the job has been completed. Life is in a video game. We've won the game.
Yeah, I would say I think if you're really, and I'm a big big perspective guy, sort of, as they say, 30,000 foot view kind of thing. Mm-hmm. I often compare myself in relation to where the average person is. So when I think of I think somewhere between 40 and 60% of Americans are making $60K a year or less. Right. You and I passed that a while ago. Right. Right. By quite a bit, I imagine. Right. So for me, when I think about it, I go, I've already sort of won the game. Ultimately, though, and I said this to you when we were recording yesterday, none of the games end anymore. Facts. Right? There's always additional content, and there's always more to it. There very few games that anybody purchases anymore sort of have a hard stop. This is the end, right? They're going to add something to it. You're going to get some kind of new content, downloadable content or whatever the case may be. Right. So for me, I'm always focused on, what the journey looks like ultimately. I'm not over here trying to portray myself as some ultimate altruist where it's like, I don't expect, I want to come out of here, my clothes still perfectly clean and my tie straight and I'm not going to step on anybody. Like, no, that's not, I think that's a impossible bar to set. But I think it is very possible to navigate this thing called life without becoming that which I think many of us are trying to fight against. I know you to be a stand-up brother. I'd like to think that I am as well. And I don't think we are going out of our way to do harm. Right. Right. But I think it's important to not become so focused on addressing, I imagine that sort of feeling of never wanting to worry about a dollar comes from probably a childhood or upbringing where money was always a challenge, right? Big facts. And, my mom did it solo dolo, and I don't think my mother ever made more than maybe $50K a year. She worked for Woolworth until they went out of business and then got a job with another company. I remember this is probably 1998, might have been right before I went to high school. My mom was, and actually changed my life when this happened. My mom, she didn't tell me she got laid off from Woolworth. I think right around the time she got laid off, I had chickenpox. I was sick for a bit. And then I just noticed she was home for a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. I'm like, I'm coming home every day. Mom is there. I'm like, Mom, what are you doing? Why are you? And eventually she was trying to hide it from me. And eventually she told me she was, Woolworth went out of business. She was essentially laid off. And she started her own cleaning company Which for a woman like my mother, because most of the time you talk to my mom, she'll say something along the lines of like, I don't want to be bothered. But it was such a desperate situation. And she knew some people who like owned buildings or whatever the case may be. And she was like cleaning corporate offices. I remember she took me with her one time, and it was like a Saturday, she was cleaning this bathroom or whatever. And right after she cleans it, some asshole just walks in, feet filthy, and just walk. And it left such a mark on me, like to this day, even when I'm at work or when I'm doing it, and people are like cleaning the floors. I'm so sorry if I step on it with my dirty shoes, or I'm trying to figure out a way, because it's real to me. It's still in my head. It's still my mom. Right. I say all of that to say that I didn't come from money either. But, you know, mom did what she could, and I never wanted for anything. There was never a day where it was like the lights were cut off. Or, you know, Danielle and I talked about it before. Like, I've never had to heat the house with the oven. You know, it was never that tough. But there was always sort of a cap. I knew that, you know, there was a limit to how much money there is. So I understand sort of the trauma of, as best I can, what it looks like to sort of have that struggle of like not more month than money. And not wanting to ever have to feel that again. And I can appreciate a person who's saying like, I want to be able to do what I want to do with my wife and my kids, and just kind of, you know, when we don't have to worry about a dollar. And I think it's okay to aspire to that. I just think that the challenge becomes how we don't fall into the trap of like black capitalism being the answer. Because I don't think you put anything before capitalism. It could be black, it could be whatever you want. But once it's capitalism, the goal is always going to be to sort of consolidate power, and it's going to be me and mine and that sort of thing. And I think that ultimately doesn't do us any good, because if we look at the state of affairs of the country we come from, we can sort of see what that has produced. Producing more of that is not helpful. Right? Like I just don't think so. I think that there is a better way to go about it, that doesn't require so many people having to struggle, and can still meet the mark of me and mine are good and money's not really an issue. What that number might be can vary, but I do believe that there is a point where you become a part of the problem, essentially. And whatever the cost of that becomes. And it doesn't have to be something as, you know, hopefully everybody stays healthy. It doesn't have to be as drastic as someone getting cancer or somebody, you know, any of that. It could just be, you know, an unforeseen circumstance, even after you're dead and gone. You just don't know what it turns into. So for me, it's more about being able to lay my head down at night, or look myself in the mirror and say, while I'm not perfect, you know, I don't think I've become part of the problem.
Okay, that's your end all be all. I want to you still want to get to the same place. You just don't want to get there by becoming part of the problem.
Yes.
Okay, that makes sense.
Because it's not some craze like ultimate altruistic sort of, you know, I think that's a ridiculous, I'm no saint. Right. And I'm not trying to be.
Facts.
But I certainly I don't want to become part of the problem.
See, I think where we did that is right there is where we differ. I don't mind becoming part of the problem. And I'm going to tell you why.
That's fair.
Because when these other people get to these places and they have tens of millions and hundreds of millions and even billions, they don't give a fuck if they're part of the problem or not. They've never cared about us.
Sure.
So, and I understand what you're saying too. Is like don't, you know, I don't know. I just feel like nobody's ever cared about us, so why should we care back? And it's a touchy subject matter. But
would you want someone to care though?
I would love for someone to care.
So when does it become our responsibility to be the change we want to see?
It is. I mean, I don't know. So, I mean, this whole time, I think we've been kind of not necessarily looking for a lifeline, not necessarily looking for someone to throw us a lifeline.
Sure.
And you know, say, hey, I do care. How can I help?
Sure.
But I've just noticed, and I don't have to live 100 years in order to see some type of change. I don't feel like it'll ever change, right? I don't feel like these people will ever, like, they're not gonna, I think you gave me an analogy about the ladder yesterday and people
Yeah,
getting up, and
yeah.
you know, I just don't feel like they've ever thrown that ladder back down to help, and I don't feel like they will ever because they don't fucking care.
Sure. And to the latter part of what you're talking about, I said, we often talk about the people who get powerful enough and they're able to pull up the ladder. The example I use, and I'm talking about this in the season finale of the podcast, I talk about Marco Rubio, current Secretary of State. His grandfather, his great grandfather, came to America. He overstayed his visa. Like essentially, what Marco Rubio is literally punishing people for right now is what his grandfather did.
Right.
And that enabled his family to be here, and he became a citizen ultimately. And obviously, him staying here allowed Marco Rubio to be born here, and so on and so on and so on. My point is that we will often talk about the people who pull the ladder up. We don't talk about the people who don't help to keep the ladder steady. And what I mean by that is, as you talk about, the people who don't care, I look at myself, because of the level of success I've had, I view it as my responsibility to try and help keep the ladder steady. I got a bunch of friends who work for the city in New York, who work for the state or work for the city, or whether it's sanitation or the MTA or whatever the case may be.
Right.
And these are guys who don't vote, who think it's a joke, who, are conservative adjacent or whatever the case may be. And what saddens me about that, especially because they're black men, is that I remember when we were 24, 25, and they were going for those MTA tests and they were going for those sanitation tests, and they were fortunate enough that we were at a time where the economy of the city could afford to hire more sanitation workers or afford to hire more MTA employees. And now that they're 10, 15 years into the job and they have the tenure and they're protected by the union, they're not holding the ladder steady. It's like, bro, I'm good. But so I literally had a friend when all these federal employees got fired, got laid off or whatever. He was like, hey, bro, you're not gonna miss them. And I was like, the first thing I said to him is, so what happens when my mom needs to call Social Security and she needs some support? And what could have been a 5-minute hold is now a 2-hour hold. I got a friend who's a retired military guy. Literally called me yesterday because his dad had a stroke. Like, as we were at the Domo, we took that last walk, my boy called me. I was like, hey, bro, I'm in Italy. I can't stay on the phone with you. I'm not on Wi-Fi. But he texts me, and he's like, his pop, and this is a guy I know who has, like, PTSD from his military service and everything. He's coming up here to take care of his dad for the next couple months because his dad had a stroke, lost the feeling and everything down from his neck down, has regained some of it, but they're going to be with him to help him to physical therapy and all that. Him and his little brother are going to take turns taking care of their dad. I say all of that to say, like, he will be impacted by a lot of these cuts, right? So when we talk about these things, we make them really abstract and we make it into this sort of like, they don't care about us, so why should I care about this? But it's like, there are rippling effects to this that impact people we love that we may not even really think about.
Right.
And I think if you're not helping to keep the ladder steady, because most of us will not have the power to pull the ladder up.
Right.
Realistically, that's not what it's going to be.
Right.
But every single one of us can keep the ladder steady.
Right.
And when we abdicate that duty, we are making it that much harder for that next generation of people coming behind us who we may need. You never know one day if you'll be 60 some odd years old and need the support of the system in some way. Right? You don't know. You really don't know. We aspire to a certain level of income and a certain amount of money to be able to take care of ourselves and navigate these things or whatever the case may be. But I got a mama 77 right now. I got family members who suffer with mental illness or been through certain things with the system. And whether it's their kids, who are just getting into school and who the school funding gets cut or whatever that looks like, they're closing libraries. They're doing all these things where it has these little micro impacts that is so easy because your day-to-day life, it don't touch you to just be like, hey, whatever. But that is how you keep the ladder steady. And for me, that is so important because it all sort of falls apart, right? And now that person, when, one of the biggest predictors of crime is poverty.
Yeah.
Right? So I don't want somebody to kick in my door waving the 4-4. You know what I'm saying? Right. I don't want it to happen. And how you do that is by making sure the schools stay funded, making sure that these kids have some place to go when school ends. So these after school programs and all these things. When we're so callous about like, it doesn't really touch me, it hasn't touched you yet. It hasn't touched you yet. The bill has not come due yet.
Right.
But when it does, if that's the worldview, don't expect empathy, Charlie Kirk.
Right.
Right? Like, don't expect it.
Right. No, I feel you. 1,000%, man. Oh man, there is there is a difference of opinion, and it's beautiful. I'm glad we get a chance to have these conversations, man, because I don't really have to other people back at home or just people in general, period, to like have these type of conversations with. So
absolutely,
I appreciate you first and foremost.
Yes, sir, man.
And I don't know. I don't know if we have anything else to talk about. We can
always pick this up.
We can
Rome,
always
man.
pick it up in Rome. Yeah,
we'll see y'all in Rome. That's what we'll do. We'll see y'all in Rome.
To Rome today. We're leaving in a few hours, and I think we'll do another episode in Rome, and we will keep you guys posted. Thank you guys for tuning in. I'm Faith.
Yes, sir. Nuance lives here. Check out the podcast for cultural purposes. It's on YouTube. It's on TikTok. Tap in.
My man. All right.